This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. With Cybersecurity Awareness Month winding down, LifeLock wants to remind you to update your software. These updates will patch up security issues that identity thieves can exploit to gain access to your personal info. For comprehensive identity theft protection, there's LifeLock. LifeLock alerts you to more uses of your personal info and fixes issues that arise. Protect your identity today with a 30-day free trial at LifeLock.com/podcast.
Max Bankman, I'm the new doctor.
Welcome aboard the Odyssey.
ABC Thursdays.
This ship is heaven. We're tending to our passengers' dreams. I'm in.
From 911 executive producer Ryan Murphy comes a splashy new drama on a luxury cruise ship with Joshua Jackson and Don Johnson.
It's your job to keep everyone alive.
She's in VFib. 1, 2, 3. Clear.
I have a pulse.
You're going to be okay.
Dr. Odyssey. Thursdays, 9/8 Central on ABC and stream on Hulu.
Streaming only on Peacock.
Being with Finch felt like I was in some fairy tale. She's like, I write for Grey's Anatomy. I was like, what?
Her writing was so highly regarded because Finch had been through so much.
A Hollywood writer's life.
When you love somebody, you'll ignore red flags so they're hitting you in the head.
Filled with fiction.
She would do whatever it takes to get ahead.
She saw like a TV series.
I don't know who my wife is.
Anatomy of Lies. Streaming October 15th. Only on Peacock.
It was all a lie.
Misty Strong, Heather's cousin, can't get a hold of her.
It has become March 2009. Heather Strong and her cousin usually talk on the phone several times a week, even though they don't see each other that often. Misty still lives in Mississippi, but now Heather has not answered the phone for several weeks.
So she becomes very worried about Heather because she knows Heather's having a lot of issues with Josh, has always had a lot of issues.
So Misty calls Heather's mother, Carolyn. She hasn't spoken to Heather in a long time either. Here she is interviewed by TLC.
I had a feeling that something bad had happened.
Carolyn decides to call the police and report her daughter missing.
We're currently looking into the disappearance of your daughter.
Yes.
Okay, have you heard from her?
No, I haven't.
When was the last time you heard from her?
Somewhere about the 10th, 11th, or 12th of February.
Is this unusual for...
Yes, it is. And Heather's birthday is Monday. And if she doesn't call me Monday, I know something's wrong.
Inspector Bowie is one of those who learns about the disappearance, and he is interviewed by TLC.
As soon as I read the report, I knew something wasn't right.
The first thing the police do is contact James Acom, whom they believe is Heather's current boyfriend.
Well, he figures she ran off with Josh or she ran off with somebody else. So it's like, but James then says to himself, and Misty again says, there's no way she would leave without her kids.
Yes, and this is reoccurring. No matter whom the police talk to, this is something that puzzles virtually everyone.
She would have never left her kids with someone else or left the state without taking her children with her.
Josh was telling all the other girls that she had just disappeared, that he hadn't heard or seen, and everybody just knew that that wasn't true. That she would never leave her children. Heather would never leave her children.
No, something isn't right here. Where is Heather Strong? You're listening to The Deadly Love Triangle, a 3-part documentary series produced by Tove, Friman, Leffler and read by me, Sandra Andres. If you enjoy this podcast, be sure to subscribe to receive new episodes as soon as they are released. But now, you'll get to listen to the final part of this series, titled Heather is Found.
So, of course, they go to Josh, and he has the kids by this point. And he says, yeah, here's this paper she signed. She said she was taken off. She couldn't take it anymore, and she was leaving me with the kids. And, look, there's the signature.
So the police go to Josh, who now lives in a trailer in Pile-Grown Mobile Home Park. And now the kids live there as well. This is from the police first meeting with him.
She was at Petro when she called me that day. Okay. I want you to come get the kids. I got the kids. Later that night, she called me with the keys. She wanted me to come get the keys from Petro. That's where she was in at Petro. She had 2 suitcases with her. Last time I seen her.
Moreover, Josh presents a typed paper with Heather's signature, stating that she wants Josh to take care of the children. However, Heather is not in Mississippi, as we've heard. At least not with any of her relatives there. So where could she be? The police continue their search, and Inspector Spivey talks to Josh's sister, Michelle Gustafson, who saw Josh drive away with a car the same night Heather disappeared.
When we spoke to Josh's sister, Michelle Gustafson, she spoke about seeing Josh drive into the driveway on the 15th, and she could see someone in the passenger seat, but she wasn't sure who it was. She then spoke to Mackenzie, who had gotten out of the car, and asked, who was that in the car with your dad? And Mackenzie confirmed to her that it was my mom. It was Heather Strong.
But when the police go to Heather and Josh's daughter, Mackenzie's school, it turns out that she has been taken out of that school and is now attending a school closer to Josh's house. The police go there to talk to her. They later bring her in for questioning and ask what happened that last night she saw her mother, Heather.
We met our dad at the store close about our house.
Where'd you guys go then?
And my dad dropped us off at our grandma's, and then they went somewhere.
Your mom and dad went somewhere? Where did they go?
I don't know.
Did they come back? They come back together?
Mm-hmm.
Your dad came back without your mom? Or did he say where she went?
He said that she was missing somewhere.
Yeah.
She left with this guy in a truck.
Did you see her leave with the guy in the truck?
No, my dad told me.
That's what your dad told you? But you saw her leave with your dad, right? And she never came back with your dad, right? Okay. How was your dad when he came back?
He was kind of happy.
At the same time, the police receive information that someone has used Heather's bank card at an ATM by a supermarket nearby. And when the police see the surveillance camera footage, it is not Heather withdrawing money. Lieutenant Chris Borycek tells BBC.
I noticed that the person looked to be part of a lawn maintenance crew that worked there. So my first step was to identify what company that was. Sergeant Spivey told me that Josh Fulgrim worked for that lawn company.
And now a lot of evidence points towards Josh Fulgham. He has Heather's bank card, and he was also the last person seen with Heather. So the police decide to bring Josh in for questioning.
She said she wanted to get the hell out of Dodge. Wanted me to keep the kids, but when she gets it cleared up, she's coming home. And Heather always comes home. She always does, and I've always taken her back, but this time I'm not taking her back.
No, Josh still claims that Heather left to sort things out and asked him to take care of the children until she returns. But when Inspector Bowie asks questions about the credit card, it all becomes slightly more confusing.
I know for a fact that you used your card. You used your credit card and you got money off of it.
I didn't get no money off of it.
Yes, you did.
I'm trying to think.
Got you on video.
Where at?
From an ATM machine. getting money off that card.
Where at, though?
Don't worry about where at. You know if you did or not.
No, I'm trying.
You know if you did or not, Josh. That's bullshit.
No, it's not. I'm
yes,
trying
it
to
is.
remember.
Because I asked you specifically several times about that card.
Yes, sir. But you know what? I did get money off that card. You're right. You're right.
When the police realize that Josh initially lied about the credit card, suspicions arise. He could have had a reasonable explanation for having Heather's card, but he didn't, so he lied. Now, the police decide to bring in Emilia. Not because they think she has anything to do with the disappearance, but they suspect that if Josh does, then Emilia might know something.
The best way to get a case like this solved fast is when there's two people involved, is to pit them against each other. That's the best way to solve a case like this, is to put them in separate rooms and pit them against each other.
So now Josh Fulgham and Emilia Carr are in separate rooms at the police station. It's quite late in the evening, and Emilia is 8 months pregnant. In the video recordings from the interrogations, you can see her struggling to find a comfortable position on the low black faux leather couch.
Hey.
Hey.
Tired?
Exhausted. About my bedtime.
I'm trying to make this quick as possible, okay? I appreciate you coming up here.
You look tired too.
Very tired. Appreciate you coming up here. How far along are you?
I'm 8 months.
You're 8 months.
Yeah.
Okay. Trying to get some things together, and we try to sort out some differences and get a clear understanding.
The first thing that Josh and Emilia do is play stupid. They have no idea. Heather took off. She left us this note. She signed it. I have the kids. She abandoned her children.
But then something happens. Since Josh and Emilia are separated, sitting in 2 different rooms at the police station, Detective Bowie begins to play them against each other. He tells Josh that Emilia is blaming him, even though she isn't saying anything at all. And when Josh starts to believe that Emilia wants to make him the scapegoat, he decides to do the same.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. With Cybersecurity Awareness Month winding down, LifeLock wants to remind you to update your software. These updates will patch up security issues that identity thieves can exploit to gain access to your personal info. For comprehensive identity theft protection, there's LifeLock. LifeLock alerts you to more uses of your personal info and fixes issues that arise. Protect your identity today with a 30-day free trial at lifelock.com/podcast.
2.5 weeks later, you say that Emilia told you that Heather was
gone, not to worry about her.
Was gone and not to worry about her. You say that Emilia told you something else. Who was involved?
Jamie Aiken.
It's a bit hard to hear in this recording from Josh's interrogation, but he claims that Emilia told him that Heather is gone and not to worry about, and that James Acom, Heather and Emilia's ex, is involved in the disappearance. However, when the police interrogate James, he instead talks about the bribe, that Emilia offered him money to kill Heather.
Emilia asked me if I wanted to make $500. I said, yeah. I said, how? And she said, all you gotta do is get Heather and all of us go out and get drunk, and then you can leave and I'll snap her neck or some crazy shit like that.
But when Detective Bowie asks Emilia about the money, she denies everything.
Well, you offered someone some money. Oh. Obviously you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I've heard this rumor.
It's a rumor?
Yeah.
How does it more than one person know about it?
Because where we live...
Why is it that I have to open something up for you to say, oh...
There were rumors from Jamie, Jason, that I was supposedly trying to pay someone to get rid of her, this and that. I'm not going to stoop to that kind of a level over a man. I'm sorry, it's not worth it. I have 3 kids I've raised by myself. This is another one I can raise by myself. I wouldn't do that.
No, Emilia is persistent. She has nothing to do with the disappearance. But then Bowie plays the recording where Josh blames Emilia.
He's saying that you told him that. I'm telling you that he said that you told him that you guys took care of Heather and for him not to worry about her anymore.
Who's you guys?
You.
The police doesn't seem to get anything out of Emilia at all. And at this point, it's not much they can do. She denies and Josh is unclear. And they still don't know where Heather is. So they let Emilia go home. And they arrest Josh for unlawfully using Heather's card. But then something happens. Just as Josh is putting his belongings in a brown paper bag, he says,
"You let me take that by my mom if I take you to? We'll go right now.
You take me to where Heather is, I'll take your wallet to your mom.
You won't take me by and let me talk to mom?
You take me to Heather first.
And you take me by my mom?
That's a promise."
Yeah, Josh promises Detective Bowie that he will show them where Heather is, if he can go to his mom afterwards. So the detectives Bowie and Spivey and Josh get into the car.
Man, I'm gonna tell y'all this right now, man. I didn't do this shit. I ain't have it done, but I know it was done.
Okay. And you're taking us to her.
It's in the middle of the night as the police car drives north through Marion County, through the small town of McIntosh, and towards the village of McCanopy. They stop at a rundown house, and there lives Emilia's mother. But Josh doesn't lead them inside the house. Instead, he takes them to the backyard.
There's this trailer, and it's an old trailer that someone lived in, run down, fallen apart, broken windows, cobwebs, dirt, rats, feces, all of that. It's gross. And there's a chair inside of it, like a desk chair.
All the time, Josh insists that Emilia has told him all this. That's how he knows it. Behind the trailer, Josh points to a spot on the ground where the soil looks a bit more porous, as if someone has recently dug there. And the police understand that under there, most certainly, a body is buried. They don't want to start digging in the middle of the night and without the forensics there. However, the discovery changes how they think. Inspector Spivey explains in the documentary Love Triangle.
Knowing now that Heather might be buried in her backyard raised our suspicions about Emilia once again. So as we went back to the office to talk to Josh again, we also knocked on the door and woke up Emilia and asked her to come back to the office as well.
And now, when the police can tell that they most likely know that Heather is buried behind a trailer in Emilia's mom's backyard, behind a house where Emilia is currently living, Emilia changes her story.
It hit me when you said something in the other room about my mom's back trailer. Because you said something about in that trailer. And the night after the 15th, he was at my window at 5 a.m. He only called.
Suddenly, Emilia recalls that on the night of February 15th, Josh knocked on her window while she was sleeping.
And he jumped her, strangled her, whatever. He told me he choked the bitch out, is what I was told.
Why didn't you tell me all this in the beginning?
Because I didn't put two and two. I thought he was full of crap. And then when you said something about my mom's back trailer, is when it clicked in my head.
Yes, now Emilia claims that Josh told her that he had choked Heather.
If you need me to testify, be a witness, or anything, I'm more than willing to help.
The next day, the police team with Detective Bowie and Inspector Spivey goes back to the house, accompanied by Susan Livati, a forensic investigator. Here she is interviewed by TLC.
I looked at the area, we cleaned it off and raked the top level away. And then at that point is when we try to figure out exactly where the edge of the hole would be. And we would mark that area with yellow flags.
They examine the site, find a suitcase, and inside it they find Heather's body. Detective Bowie describes it as if they could smell the stench of death when they started digging. A black suitcase emerges from the ground, and inside it, Heather's head is visible. We hear Heather's mom interviewed by BBC Three.
When Bowie called me and told me that they had found Heather, we were actually out in the yard getting in the car, and Jacob and Tyler were both here. And he told me that they found her.
She said, "Oh no, not my baby girl," and I remember her falling to the porch. She was screaming. She held the phone down on the ground.
This is Heather's brother, Tyler.
I just remember realizing what was going on and realizing that she was talking about Heather. And I guess my blood pressure got to the point to where it was so high that my nose started pouring out blood. And my brother, he fell to the ground. He was on his hands and knees crying.
Investigators found Strong buried in a shallow grave more than a month after she was reported missing.
Now they know for sure that Heather Strong is dead. Not just missing, but dead. But who has harmed her? Her ex-boyfriend Josh Fulgham has shown them the location, but according to him, it's Emilia, his girlfriend, or ex-girlfriend, or whatever she is, who has told him that Heather is there, buried in Emilia's mom's backyard. Emilia, on the other hand, initially said nothing, but later changed her story, claiming that Josh told her he had choked Heather on the night of February 15th. Detective Spivey decides to interrogate Emilia again. And now, Emilia has even more to tell.
I come across Heather
Where?
duct taped to the little blue chair.
In the trailer.
In the trailer. And I freak out. I check for a pulse. I'm looking to see if she's breathing. And I'm just checking. And I walked out. And he was there later that afternoon. I asked him, "What the hell did you do?" He told me that in the middle of the night, after we were in bed, he brought her there. And I guess he told her that he knew where I had money stashed to get her to go back there. And that he hit her upside the head with something. And she was trying to leave and she broke the window.
Yes, Emilia now claims that she indeed saw Heather, duct-taped in the trailer in her mom's backyard. And since the story has shifted from her not knowing anything to Josh telling her to her actually seeing Heather dead, Spivey wonders if there's more that she hasn't revealed.
I did not know anything that night. I walked out there the next morning to go get some more things together so that I would be ready in a few days when we had to move.
You want to know how I know that's not true?
How?
Because you walked into a trailer and you found a dead girl who had been murdered, and you thought to yourself, wow, this is really dangerous. I'm about to move in with a murderer, but you know what? I'm going to go ahead and move in with him. He's probably not a bad guy.
I didn't think that.
What did you think?
I didn't know what to think at the time.
Did you think Josh did it?
I didn't know until I confronted him.
Okay, you confronted him.
When he
and
got
what did
off
he
of
say?
work. And I told him, I said, "What the hell is going on? Why is she here?"
Okay.
And he said, well, she was threatening to take the kids, and I did what I had to do to make sure she wouldn't take them.
He said, oh, well, she was threatening to. Oh, okay, well, then that's fine. Okay, let's move in together. I love you, Josh. We're going to have a happy family together.
That's not what I'm going to do with them. Am I going to be able to go home to my kids?
I need you to tell me the truth. Did you kill her?
No.
Did you kill her?
No.
Did you tie her up?
No.
Did you torture her?
No.
After this, they are almost certain that Heather has been murdered in the trailer in Emilia's mom's backyard. So Spivey decides to take Emilia to the trailer to get her to tell them exactly what she saw and where on that day, if her story is true.
And that's when I came in here and I saw her in the chair. And she was taped to it. I just kind of stopped for a minute. I didn't know what to think or what to do. And then I just went up to her and I was checking her pulse.
And when you say the chair?
Right there. And she was slouched in the chair and her head was leaning back. And I kind of panicked.
So you walk over?
I walked up to her. I checked for a pulse. I checked to see if she was breathing. I checked her arms, see if I could feel a pulse, see if I could feel anything. I didn't feel anything.
What'd you do then?
But Detective Spivey feels that they can't entirely trust Emilia. There's too much oddity in her story, and it has also changed too many times. While Spivey is with Emilia on the way to the trailer, Detective Bowie continues to talk to others around them, including Jason Lothshaw, a childhood friend of Emilia who also knows Josh and knew Heather.
I believe Emilia is the one that orchestrated the whole thing. She's very smart, and like I said, very vindictive. I feel like she's the one that made everything happen. Because Josh still loved Heather. You know, that's his baby's mother. He got 2 children by her, you know. I feel like Emilia planted that seed and let it grow a while back in Josh's head.
Yeah, there are quite a few things pointing to Emilia now. And the next day, she calls Detective Spivey, and now she has a proposal.
What I'm telling you is I know things that only the coroner or whoever does the autopsy, I know things, Detective Spivey, that happened. But I'm just saying, I'm not going to say anything without immunity. Because I'm telling you, with what I know, I'll go down with him. Not for murder, because I didn't kill the girl.
What more can you offer that's going to definitely send him away to prison?
Nothing I can give you without immunity.
All right, are you willing to talk to me back in the hypothetical terms again? I mean, because that's what I'm going to need.
Are we off the record?
We're off the record.
Okay. Hypothetically, maybe I know a little bit more about what happened while he was back there. But hypothetically, I'm not going to say anything without immunity. I'm just scared to take that step without that little piece of paper, so I know I'm not going to fall on my face and lose my kids for the rest of my life. Maybe what could hypothetically be said was maybe I could be the state attorney's best eyewitness.
To
what happened. Hypothetically.
Okay. So, if immunity was given, there's possibly a witness out there who actually watched her die.
Possibly.
While Spivey talks to Emilia on the phone and she asks for immunity, Josh asks to speak with Detective Bowie. Now he says he wants to tell them what happened that night Heather died. He says that he and Emilia planned to trick Heather into believing there was money in the trailer on Emilia's mom's property, which Heather and Josh were supposed to steal from Emilia. But as we know, there was no money there. Instead, Emilia was supposed to wait there and they would overpower Heather when she entered the trailer. So Josh picks up Heather on the evening of February 14th and drives towards Emilia's mom. And it's crucial to remember that Josh is angry here. He's furious because he thinks Heather is going to take their children away from him and that he won't get to see them anymore. This feeling intensifies when he and Heather reach the rundown house outside McIntosh.
Heather went in, I went in. Heather's looking for this money, but I know I ain't even there. Sorry, Heather. I said, sit down, I'm gonna talk to you. That's what she said. Hell no. Josh, take me from here. I said, no, sit down, let's talk. She said, no, Josh, take me from here. And she went to go out. When she did, I went to grab her to stop her from going. She broke loose from me. Emilia come in and like, you need to get quiet. And Heather said, I'm out of here. Fuck this. She started down the hall. And that's when Emilia hit her. When she did, I grabbed her and I put her in a chair.
Josh pushes Heather into an old office chair in the trailer. Emilia stands behind him. Josh forcefully presses Heather down and asks her if she had sex with James Acom just 3 days after Josh went to jail. And Heather answers yes. Then Josh says it's as if he's sent over the edge.
Emilia taped her up. She got her hands taped up. I did her feet down at the bottom. I did them with the tape. Emilia wrapped tape around her mouth before she even put the bag over it. Well, Heather somehow or another got the tape loose from her mouth and got it down her neck, so Emilia put more. She used a whole roll of duct tape.
Now Heather starts begging and pleading for him to let her go.
She told Emilia, she said, I'll leave y'all alone. And Emilia said, well, you're here with him now. You got in the car with him tonight. And she told her, I promise, I'll leave y'all alone. Let me go. And when she put the bag over her head, she taped it around her neck to where it was solid on her. And she had her arm around her neck. She was trying to snap her neck. I could tell she was getting weak because she was just like, then, nothing. She wasn't like that no more because the tape was over her mouth, trying to say something.
So she was mumbling at one point when the tape was over her mouth?
She was trying to say something. I don't know what. And then the chair went back, and Emilia was still behind her with her hand around her. She done tried to snap her neck, she couldn't. She done tried it, she couldn't do it. But she had her hand on her nose over that bag. And I heard her make like a gurgling noise in her throat or something.
And then after she died, you guys took the tape off of her.
And I pulled her down on the floor. I pulled her hair back over her face. See her eyes.
In the video from the interrogation, Josh is seen wearing striped prison clothes. He has a shaved head, and as he talks about looking into Heather's dead eyes, he starts sobbing. When the interrogation ends, he calls his mom.
I want to talk to you. No, I don't need to talk to her like her, Mom. I'm guilty. No, I don't. I'm guilty. I done it, Mama. I didn't do it by myself. But I done it. I just got sick of it, Mama. I wanted my babies. I was just tired of her running off, keeping them from me. I was sick of her.
But the police still have nothing concrete on Emilia. She's admitted to seeing Heather, knowing she was murdered, but she doesn't admit being involved. So what to do? But then Josh's sister, Michelle Gustafson, calls Detective Bowie and says that Emilia has just called her, wanting to talk to Michelle. Bowie asks Michelle if she can record their conversation. And since Michelle knows her brother Josh is guilty, but has a feeling that Emilia is involved and wants to prove it, she agrees.
So Josh's sister wears a wire.
Michelle Gustafson picks up Emilia in her car, wired to Buey and Spivey's police car, so they hear everything Emilia and Michelle say, and can intervene if anything happens. What we hear here is from that recording. Here's Emilia.
You're not recording this conversation, are you, Michelle? Please.
Please tell him just to keep his mouth shut and to keep his head up because everything's going to be okay. I don't know when, but he's got to stop talking to them.
While Emilia tries to get Michelle to stop Josh from revealing more to the police, a nervous Michelle tries to get Emilia to tell her everything she knows, even though she is almost breaking down.
I can't sleep. I can't eat. I hadn't ate since Wednesday. So I want detail.
I don't know if you can handle it, Michelle.
Emilia, it would be better. It would be better knowing than not knowing.
Finally, Emilia starts talking.
You put the bag over her head. We tried to snap her neck. That didn't work.
You did?
He didn't see any other way out, Michelle. I mean, how many more times was he gonna...
But why would you try to break her neck?
It's going to be quick and painless.
When Emilia admits that she tried to kill Heather, Michelle becomes so stressed that she has to stop the car. On the recording, we hear how she can barely breathe. Spivey and Buey pull up next to her, as if by coincidence, and they take Emilia to the police station. Now they have a confession on tape. Here is the audio from the interrogation.
You've already admitted to it. You've gotten over that hurdle. You have admitted to killing someone.
No, I admitted to something, and it didn't work. He killed her.
Were you there?
On the record?
Everything is on the record.
From here on out is on the record. You were there when she died. You told that girl today you tried to break her neck. Is that right?
Yeah, it was on tape.
Is that right? I'm not talking to you in sign language.
I know.
I'm talking to you person to person, respectively. I don't want to assume that you nodded your head, but is that right that you were there with Josh when Heather took her last breath? I can't hear you.
And now, Emilia Carr tells almost the same story as Josh has done to Buey and Spivey.
How far back do you want me to go?
When you were standing behind her trying
After she was taped, and I put the bag over her head, and he taped it, and I pulled the tape, and he taped it. I made a little attempt because I was scared and I was shaking, and I told him I couldn't do it,
How many times do you think you tried?
Once or twice, and I couldn't.
How many times do you
Twice.
think you tried?
Because I couldn't do it. And I told him I was shaking so bad. I said, Josh, I can't do this. So then I stepped back.
Okay.
And he went around and he took care of it.
But you tried to snap her neck because you wanted it to be
Because I was
quick.
scared.
You wanted it to be quick.
Yeah, I didn't want her to suffer.
You didn't want her to suffer, so you tried to break her neck.
And I couldn't do it because I was shaking so bad. So then I just stepped back and he took over. And he held his hand over her nose and her mouth so that she couldn't breathe.
Only you and him know exactly
Yeah, I know.
who did what, because one's pointing at the other one. But both of you guys were there, present, assisting each other when she took her last breath. Correct?
So even though I didn't kill him, I
Correct.
charged with the same thing as him.
Exactly.
Yes, that's how it works. Emilia was present. She was part of the planning, and she tried to kill Heather. She didn't try to stop it in any way. Moreover, she has repeatedly lied to the police. So now she's also charged with murder, just like Josh. We hear from M. William Phelps again.
This case, when it's looked at by the prosecutor, it's looked at as a kidnapping and a premeditated murder with aggravating circumstances, being the kidnapping. There's also a solicitation of murder at some point in this. So, all these charges add up to a death penalty case. Florida is a death penalty state. Not every state is a death penalty state, but Florida is. So the bar isn't as high as it is elsewhere, And let me tell you something about getting the death penalty in Florida. You get the death penalty in Florida, and there's a good chance that you're going to die. There's been people on death row in other states for 50 years that'll never, like California has a death penalty, nothing's going to happen out there, So Florida's a state where you get the death penalty, there's a good chance you're going to meet your maker. You're going to die.
In April 2009, both Josh and Emilia are indicted on murder charges. Emilia is by then 24 years old. Almost a month later, she gives birth to a daughter who could be Josh's child, but, as Emilia claims today, is her ex James Carr's child, which he has also admitted in family court. The child is immediately taken into foster care, and Emilia is taken back to jail. A few months later, Detective Buie receives a phone call from Emilia's mom. She says that Emilia wants to meet him and Detective Spivey. She has something she needs to tell them. When they arrive, she says that she has lied. "What do you mean lied?" asks Buie. Well, Emilia says she lied when she confessed. She wasn't involved. In fact, she wasn't even there, she claims. And she has several reasons for why she made it up.
Coerced, manipulated, and she made it up. She lied.
And when Emilia Carr's trial takes place in November 2010, she testifies. And she sticks to the same line.
If you want to save your life, you should testify. You don't have to testify, but you should. And she realizes that she can manipulate maybe one juror, draw some sympathy, just reach that one person who might believe the abused child and that she was cajoled by mastermind murderer Josh. It's really her only chance. So Emilia puts on the abuse defense. I was severely sexually abused as a child, which opened up the wounds later when Josh came around and he abused me as well. That's why you should spare my life. And I think she had a strong case for this. I really do. I believe Josh was the driving force behind this and came up with the idea. And not that he manipulated her in any way, but he certainly pushed her and beat her and threatened her and all of that. But Emilia was all in. At any time, she could have stopped it and went to the police, but she didn't. So she was all aboard the violent train of torture and murder once it started.
On December 10, 2010, the jury votes 7-5 in favor of sentencing Emilia Carr to death. The judge follows their decision, and on February 22, 2011, she gets sentenced to death by lethal injection.
A judge just told 26-year-old Emilia Carr her role in the murder of Heather Strong will cost her her life.
She's very stoic. She's very much like, just another day.
Then it takes almost a year before Josh Fulgham goes through his trial. He chooses a completely different line. He has admitted to murdering his ex-wife, and in court, he shows a lot of remorse. Even then, a lot of people are surprised when the jury decides that he shouldn't be sentenced to death like his co-defendant. Instead, he is sentenced to life in prison without parole.
I believe that Josh should be on death row and Emilia should be serving life. It's It's my own personal feeling. Because Josh was really the driving force behind this, and he was the muscle and the abuser, the torturer. Yes, Emilia participated, and she's just as guilty and maybe in the planning as well. But Josh, without him, this doesn't happen. Without Emilia, it still happens.
When Emilia is sentenced to death in 2011, she becomes the youngest woman on death row. Over the years, many documentaries have been made about the case, with interviews with Emilia from inside the prison, where she gives her perspective on the case and on being on death row. But then, in May 2017, something happens.
The Florida State Supreme Court affirmed Emilia Carr's death sentence. And just to read a quote from that high court decision, quote, "This case involves a love triangle between the victim, Heather Strong, her estranged husband, Joshua Fulgham, and the defendant, Emilia Carr, that ended when Carr and Fulgham carried out their plan to murder Strong." And during that death phase of the trial, they talked about how Emilia put a plastic bag over Heather's head and basically suffocated her to death. After that affirmation by the high court, Emilia Carr started the appeal process. That's one of the things you can do after the high court rules is you can restart your appeal. What happened is, after being ruled unconstitutional by the U.S. Supreme Court in January 2016, Florida's death row sentence became a topic of debate and revision. And in March of 2017, Governor Rick Scott signed new rules requiring a unanimous jury decision for a death sentence, which affected Emilia because they didn't have that. So she ultimately got resentenced to life in prison without the possibility of being released.
Today, both Emilia Carr and Joshua Fulgham are in prison, and according to their sentences, they are supposed to stay there for the rest of their lives. You have listened to the final part of The Deadly Love Triangle, a 3-part podcast series about the murder of Heather Strong. Clips in this series come from BBC, TLC, 1 Minute Remaining, and CNN and ABC. The documentary is made by Tove Friman Leffler and read by me, Sandra Andres. Sound engineer is Kristoffer Kronander, and this is a PodLit production.